Baseball dudes are back. It's Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. Kyle Schassburger and David Kahn. DK fresh off of working on his craft, honing in on the diamond. Behind the mic for Arizona and West Virginia on the Mountaineer Sports Network. Stories from David from Morgantown coming up on this show. A little bit of a shakeup amongst the top teams in the country. A couple of teams falling out, too, that continue to backslide. Virginia did not save their season last week on second thought after they got swept by Duke at home. And Texas moving up ahead of LSU, who falls back a little bit. Arkansas at number 2. Tennessee still the number 1 team in the land, David. We do have a guest on today's show. We'll give you our Borgo Balls moment that delivered. We had a perfect game, which I don't think it should be considered a perfect game when it doesn't go a full 9 innings. We will touch on that coming up, as well as give you our dudes, SDAs, hat tips, so much more. Look ahead to the weekend as conference races are tight all around. I mean, the parity in the ACC, the Big 12, you can wax on this, Con, and your moment from your journeys at West Virginia and seeing Arizona take 2 or 3. But the Big 12, like the last place team, I think it's Cincinnati, they're only 4 games out of the number 1 spot. And then you look at the SEC with Tennessee dropping the opener and then taking 2 games at Alabama, and then kind of a reverse scenario in Austin where LSU took game 1 and then Texas came back and took 2 games. Our guest comes from the SEC. He is the director of recruiting, John Michael Morris of Vanderbilt. JM is going to join the show in roughly 30 minutes or so I'm excited for that, to talk about the role, director of recruiting position, what that means, his ascension into that role, and maybe moonlighting. I have one burning question. Moonlighting as a movie star should be a fun show, David.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic show. I'm excited to get John Michael Morris on the program. You mentioned you actually worked this into fruition because you filled in on the board amidst the craziness of crossover season with the Vanderbilt Sports Network, back to your baseball roots as a studio host. So you were touching with Andrew Allegretta and JMM, and you were like, "Hey, listen, we got to get you on the program. Like, this is a unique position. You know, more and more teams do have a director of recruiting or a recruiting coordinator of some kind, but we gotta bring you on the show. We gotta hear your story, because this guy is a native Nashvilleian. He's been around the Vanderbilt program basically his whole life. And so to have someone with that kind of perspective now working under one of the most legendary coaches in Tim Corbin, I'm certainly excited about that. There was a lot of craziness that went on, both in my series, specifically West Virginia and Arizona. There was there's so many different results to talk about, teams taking a huge jump, teams backsliding. So you let me know where you want to start. I've got stories for days from Morgantown, but we can go SEC, ACC first, or we can go last night, Duke and ECU, because there was some chippiness going on in Durham between Duke and East Carolina when those 2 head coaches went toe-to-toe in the 8th inning.
I was locked into that game. I was watching. I had vetted interest on both sides, and it was spectacular as Pollard and Cliff Godwin were both ejected. We'll touch on that. But you started to interrupt me. I just rolled out of bed. I don't know if you see. I am wiping. This is my morning routine, okay? Please tell me you know what I'm doing. This is a banana peel.
He is wiping his face clean with a banana peel. This is a unique facial treatment. I just use... What are you putting your face in an ice bath with a headset on? Folks, Kyle Schassburger is dumping his face in a bowl of water. I'm assuming there may be ice in there. I don't know. After wiping it clean with a banana peel, what is this facial treatment? Did Ashley turn you on to this?
No, I knew I would expose you. So there is a video that has been circulating that has become one of the most viral things to ever hit civilization. Ashton Hall is an entrepreneur, fitness guru, fitness coach, if you will. His morning routine released this past week, so you need to go look this up. He actually put it on Instagram initially back in February, got 30 million views. Last week on Twitter, got over 680 million views, still skyrocketing, okay? You cannot contain this bizarre morning routine video that lasts, 3 minutes, and it's a bunch of cutaways beginning at 3 or 4 a.m. whenever he wakes up. And yes, it includes dipping your head in an ice water bath in a bowl on a couple of occasions and wiping your face with a banana peel. I don't know what any of it means. It is ludicrous. The cesspool that is social media has been ripping this guy to shreds, but the dude is yoked up, okay? He is driving a muscle luxury hybrid car that I can't even recite. I don't know if it's Maserati, Lamborghini, whatever. But from his gym preparations, starting when he gets out of bed, to eating, to the supporting cast members and girl that hand him food, the guy cleaning the pool in the background when he jumps into the pool. I mean, it is the most bougie, over the top, just unrealistic maneuver that anybody could ever pull off. Like, his masculinity is being greatly challenged. But it is pretty dope, and you need to see the video. So you obviously have not seen the video, but yes.
No, I have not seen the video.
I am channeling my Ashton Hall. Okay, so let me just wipe my face with my banana peel one more time and let me be and start telling me stories about West Virginia, please.
All right. So no, I have not seen that. I was buried in the West Virginia baseball scene over the last week. It was pretty crazy. So I'll start with the midweek game on Wednesday against JMU. We have an effects feed, Kyle Schassburger, and it is right by home plate to get the bat cracks and the balls getting hit and everything. Let's just say there were some fired up fans over the Darren DeVries news that made their remarks onto my effects mic the entire week I was there.
Are you going to break any more coaching news? I know Sean Miller is at Texas. Richard Pitino is going to Xavier now.
Yes.
You want to give me a VCU hire? I think it's going to be Phil Martelli Jr. But
I've seen Phil Martelli Jr. Yes, I did break news to you, not to the rest of the world. They already knew that Darren DeVries is going to Indiana. But let's just say there were some questionable language that leaked its way onto the Mountaineer Sports Network over the last week. Had to apologize quite a few times for some of the words that came over the mic. Fans are displeased, as you might imagine. But let's go to Friday night, because Friday night was the wild game of the three. The storyline is that we played 16 innings on Friday. 16 innings.
5 hours, 34 minutes.
Yes, the second longest game in terms of innings ever in West Virginia baseball history. The only one longer, 17 innings in 1936 when they played the Quantico Marines, is the only other longer one in West Virginia history.
Quantico.
Longest game in, yes, Quantico. Yes, the Quantico Marines.
They had a baseball team?
Yes, they did. I know, amazing.
Sure, you had some real sharpshooters on the mound, some real gunslingers,
You did.
Controlling the diamond.
No doubt about it. It's also the longest game in the history of that ballpark, now Kendrick Family Ballpark, formerly Monongalia County Ballpark. The longest one before that was the first game ever played at that ballpark, 13 innings. So we went 16 innings, 5 hours and 34 minutes, and ended 6-4. Arizona wins at 6-4 to take the opener. The craziest part of that game, though, was actually what happened in the 10th inning.
Okay, this was the double bag fiasco?
Yes, the double bag fiasco. I'm going to share my screen here and show this to you because I know you were aware of this.
Yes.
So here we go. Just gonna watch this video. The double bag fiasco. We're gonna play this video. So you see, we get a pickoff move from Jack Kartsonis, the mustachioed man. He pitched this weekend. I got to talk about the mustache, and you can see he pitched, then picked off over to Grant Hussey, who tags the Arizona runner, and they call him out. Now, on first look, I did not understand why the Arizona runner was being ruled out. But as you watch it over and over again, you look at his left foot. His left foot is only on the orange safety bag. And once you are a base runner, if your foot is not touching any part of the white bag, you are out if you are tagged. And Grant Hussey alertly saw that after the pickoff move, that the Arizona base runner pulled his foot off of the white bag, only was on the orange safety bag, and applied the tag, and he was out. Of course, Chip Hale was furious, the Arizona head coach, but it's the letter of the law, and he got it right.
This is the letter of the law, and this is kind of the worst fears of this safety bag being exposed, rearing its head, if you will. But things that we were pretty candidly trying to tune ourselves into as much as we could as broadcasters when this thing got introduced in Hoover at the SEC tournament, and trying to figure out, okay, what is the worst thing that can happen? How can there be controversy that extends from this? We're trying to avoid the worst case in terms of injuries and create this safety bag to avoid collisions. But what kind of confusion might exist with two bags on there? And that was one of the things where if you're diving back after leading off, you should be at first base, you're getting into the white bag. You're not getting into the colored safety bag. And at that point, if you're on the safety bag, you'd be tagged out and you would be called out. This is the first real example we've had of this that has come to light. I'm surprised, and maybe it's happened more. But certainly in terms of the mainstream and it being caught on camera and televised, and you were there to experience firsthand, I'd be curious what your call was in the
No, you
moment.
don't.
Yeah, I would be very curious the amount of confusion that even you had up in the book because we hadn't seen it happen. It's one thing to talk
I figured
about
it out. Yeah. So I figured it out in the aftermath. So my first call was, okay, he gets back to the bag, and then my analyst, Jake Weghorst, goes, no, he's out. And I was like, he's out? Why? And then I watched the replay, and then I saw it. So I caught it pretty quick. But in the moment, I was like, why is he out? What?
Yeah, I would imagine you were able to workshop that in real time pretty quickly after the fact.
Yeah.
Now, the moment that it happened, I think everybody on Arizona was just as shocked and ignorant of the rule. But then also, digging back into the memory bank and knowing, oh, yeah, shit, that was something we were not supposed to do. There's not much to argue after the fact. It's just, it's part of the conditioning and maneuvering your mind and your physical, instinctive abilities and diving back to the bag when you got two there, and just trying to get comfortable into what's right and what's wrong and what you can't do and what you can do. I mean, it's an honest, understandable mistake, and Arizona got pegged for it. They got caught. Now, they had the last laugh on the weekend, right, Con? That game, by the way, the 16 innings, 5 hours, over 5.5 hours, 50 combined strikeouts, too?
Yep.
There's a lot of
50
cases.
combined strikeouts in 109 at-bats.
Wow.
50 combined strikeouts. It was an ugly game for a lot of it. Let me tell you, both bullpens were completely taxed. Then on Saturday, it rained. So we delayed the start of the game 30 minutes on Saturday. So that was fun. And West Virginia had to warm up inside, which normally they don't do, but it was raining so badly they had to warm up inside in their brand new indoor performance center, which they had never done before. So that was a cool story to talk about. But they end up winning that game on Saturday, 7 runs in the 4th inning to win that game, and they only had to use 2 pitchers on Saturday. Their starter did not last very long. Gavin Van Kempen got lifted early, but Reese Bassinger, stud, came in 5 1/3 lockdown innings to win the game for West Virginia. He's an absolute dude. Like, watch out for this guy. He is insane. And then on Sunday, West Virginia got, dealt with some injuries. Sam White, Logan Save, both were dinged up. Sam White left the game after homering in the 3rd inning to give West Virginia to bring the game to a 1-run game for West Virginia. They led 4-3, but then they go into the 8th inning and it all comes apart. 8 runs allowed in the 8th and 9th inning. Adonis Guzman, who had words for the West Virginia catcher Gavin Kelly after his first home run, hit another home run in the 9th inning. Of course, Mountaineer fans hated that. He was getting mercilessly booed the entire time he was there. And he should have been. He mouthed off multiple times to West Virginia's bench afterwards. There were near ejections in Sunday's game multiple times. Benches were warned. It was wild. But then Arizona, exploded the last 2 innings. They won 9-4. But like you said, Big 12. I mean, yes, Arizona, Kansas State at the top, 5-1, 5-1. Cincinnati at 1-5. They're not a bad team. Overall, they have a positive record at 13-11. West Virginia's right in the middle of it at 2-2. You got 4 teams at 3-3. You got 3 teams at 2-4. This Big 12 race is nowhere near a 2-horse race or a 4-horse race if you throw in Arizona State and Texas Tech at 4-2. This is going to be an absolute battle to the finish. And Globe Life Field will see some epic baseball when the Big 12 tournament comes back to Arlington in May.
There's no doubt. I do want to give some kudos since we're in the Big 12. This is one of my, favorite things I wanted to note from this past weekend in terms of the Kansas and Arizona State environments. Hat tip to Phoenix Municipal Stadium, the Muni, as they call it. Game 1, Arizona State playing Kansas. They won 9-2, but the fans, it was lit up like a Christmas tree. 5,834, a beautiful scene in the desert. Sun Devils took game 1. They ended up winning the series 2-1 over Kansas, who had entered Tempe off to their best start in program history. And the weather box in that box score, Con, before we move on to what Texas was able to do as well as Tennessee, the box score said, quote, "Let's get it on," in the weather category. Weather.
Nice.
Let's get it on. It was beautiful.
Nice.
Such
the
great
Christmas
scenes.
Tree. Absolutely. The Christmas tree lighting up sounds like my car on Monday in Morgantown.
Yes, it does. Sucks
Yeah.
to suck, man. Anecdotal, by the way, is the word of the show. Okay, this is all our firsthand testament, account, recollection of things that we experienced ourselves firsthand. The self-random investigations, diagnosis of the weekend. But two, for you, one important anecdote, if you will. Anecdotal. By the way, if you say it, let's see, anecdotal. I think when you say it anecdotic, it's pronounced differently. I was diving into the dictionary, so you can help me. You're the wordsmith here, okay? Because I was trying to figure out the right word. But it's different pronunciations based on different word forms of anecdotal or anecdote. I think it's anecdotic when you do the IC at the end. Does that make sense? Am I right?
I'm looking up anecdotic because I've never even heard anecdotic, but it's an anecdotal sense, but it's anecdotic. Huh. Okay.
It's pronounced differently. Trust me. Yes, I learned something. Yeah. But an anecdote of your weekend is that you had to deal with car issues. So
I did minor car issues. Luckily, my car lit up. 5 lights lit up as I was driving back from Morgantown. It turned out to be a misfire in my electrical system. Had to get a coil replaced. Long story short, lots of money later, I'm back. Car's fine. Anyways, I want to hit on some of the quick results from the weekend. Just kind of brush through them, and then you give me the Chris Pollard, Cliff Godwin drama because you were dialed into this game and I was not. So I want to hear from you on this. So big winners of the weekend. Texas, they take 2 of 3 from LSU in Austin. Kate Anderson was awesome on Friday for LSU with a quality start. But Texas' Rylan Galvin, the star of the weekend, solo homer on Friday, his 8th of the season. Then he homers again on Saturday, a 3-run homer, his 9th of the season. Texas scores 5 unanswered in the 7th inning and later, trailing 7-6. Jalen Flores ties it at 7. Will Gasparino go-ahead hit in the 7th. And then on Sunday, they hold LSU to a season-low 2 runs while Max Bellew has 5 RBIs and Dylan Volantis retires 9 of the final 10 LSU hitters as Texas gets their first series win over a top 2 team in 6 years. Over to Tennessee, 5-1 in the SEC as well with Texas. They take 2 of 3 at Alabama, lost the opener 6-5 after jumping out to a 3-run lead. Liam Doyle gets tagged his worst start of the year, 6 runs, 4 walks, but important to note, he went 6 innings and preserved the bullpen a little bit, had 9 strikeouts. Also in that game, Bryce Fowler robbed Reese Chapman of a solo homer in the 6th inning. Tennessee lost that game by 1, 6-5. So that home run doesn't get robbed. Might have changed things a little bit later on. On Saturday, Tennessee comes out with a vengeance, chases Riley Quick after 2 innings. They score 7 of their 10 with 2 outs in the inning. Dylan Loy gets them out of a bases-loaded jam after going 3 1/3 scoreless on Friday. And then on Sunday, it was all over. 5-0 lead early, 4 more in the 7th. 2 of their freshmen, Tegan Coons, Braden Kenzel, 8 2/3 of 2-run ball. Tennessee wins. And then the other big winner from the weekend, UC Irvine, 18-5, 8-1 in the Big West. They've won 7 in a row. They've won all 3 Big West series, 2 of 3 against Long Beach State. They've swept CSUN and UCSB on the road. And yesterday, midweeks matter, baby. 12-9 win at USC for the Anteaters of UC Irvine, all right? Let me give a shout out to our guy, Max Martin, a stud at the back end of the bullpen, 6 saves in 10 appearances, 17 strikeouts in 17 innings, and a 2.65 ERA. Let's go Anteaters, baby. Let's go.
Huge series for the Anteaters. Taking off and picking off the Gauchos out there in the Big West. That was certainly good to see. Georgia, how about Georgia winning game 1, though, over Florida when they were dead in the 8th inning?
Yeah.
And they get a massive home run in the 8th inning. I want to shine more of a light on this after we talk with John Michael Morris as part of my dudes for the weekend. But that just catapulted them. Zaborowski, who's like the Charlie Condon 2.0 for Georgia this year, the Miami Redhawks transfer, just vaults them into a series sweep where they outscore Florida on the weekend 40-13. Georgia hit as many home runs as Florida had runs on the weekend.
Oh, my.
13 home runs, and Florida scored 13 runs. Outscored them 40-13 on the weekend of a 3-game sweep. Just bonker stuff as the Gators are 0-6 in the SEC. Texas A&M is 0-6. Virginia continues to backslide. They've fallen out of the rankings. 3 of the top, and Duke was preseason number 11, but if you put Duke aside, and we'll talk on the Blue Devils here in a moment, 3 of the top 10 are completely out of the rankings, right? Like Florida's not in there anymore.
No, Florida's gone.
Yeah.
A&M's gone. Virginia's gone. Virginia allowed 35 runs to Duke this week in a 3-game sweep. 35 runs. Their pitching has been horrid.
So bad. And Florida's dealing with pitching issues too, right?
Yep.
Like Liam Peterson and
Peace
Pierce.
Coppola's out.
Yeah.
Their best reliever's gone too right now for the year. Peterson wasn't announced out for the weekend until like the day before or the day of by Kevin O'Sullivan. And he even said in an article earlier this week, he's like, I don't know who's pitching this week. I have no idea. And they have to play early this week. They have a Thursday through Saturday series.
Yeah. Well, for the Blue Devils, they picked up a midweek win on Tuesday over ECU count. 6-4 was the final score. It was 2-2 early on. Each starting pitcher struggled in the early going, and then the heavens parted, and it started to pour in ways that I thought were previously unimaginable to play through. However, that new turf surface at the Coombs is just incredible in being able to drain water and for you to play through what appeared to be a monsoon with the batter's eye camera out in center field, zeroing in behind the pitcher at home plate. Looked like a monsoon. The other cameras throughout the ballpark didn't reveal as much of a heavy downpour, but still, it was wet. The ball was slippery, but they played through it. Now, the thing is, it was tied early at 2 apiece. Let's fast forward and give ECU a lot of credit. They're really trying to find themselves. They're starting to swing the bats a lot better. They got a walk-on freshman that homered last night that tied the game, I think, in the middle of the game. But I want to take you to the late stages where Duke's looking for some much-needed insurance. Now, they won the game 6-5. Tyler Albright, who was a stud freshman who saw a lot of playing time, he's a junior now, okay? And he draws a big walk in like the 6th or 7th inning. And this was a precursor to what would happen in the 8th when he drew a walk that scored a run, that scored the 6th run and gave Duke some important insurance. They went on to win by 2 runs, 6-4. So he drew consecutive walks, and there was a lot of smack talk. I've never seen a player smack talk as a hitter as much as Tyler Albright did in drawing a walk, not once, but then twice. So he had already gotten under the skin of ECU when he drew that walk in the 6th or 7th inning, where he looked at the pitcher and said that you could read his lips clear as day on the replay, because I thought he was going to get rung up looking, but the ump called it a ball. He took his base before he left the box. He bat flipped behind him, threw the bat behind him, was taking off his gloves, looked at the pitcher and said, "That's outside, buddy," and then started to stroll down to first base. So that's what started this. Not to mention it's Duke, it's ECU, it's somebody who can be perceived. We know what ECU has done and Cliff Godwin in building this program, but they're not a university power school in the state. They certainly like to think they belong in that conversation. Still no trips to Omaha, but the most decorated pedigree in history of any program not to make to Omaha. Still, they get up for these. These are their Super Bowls in the midweek, for sure. Duke's trying to put ECU back in their place. So Albright takes his base. He comes back up in the 8th, Con, draws the walk, scores a run, goes down. Now, the cameras don't catch as much of what Albright was saying this time, but Cliff Godwin, the camera pans to him in the first base dugout, and Godwin is saying something in Tyler Albright's direction. And I don't know if it's directly at Albright, the Duke player who's smack talking his way down to first after drawing another big walk and earning his team another insurance run, given what he had done just an inning or two prior, or if Godwin is gesturing towards the umpire over in that direction. I don't know. Chris Pollard thought Cliff Godwin was jawing at Tyler Albright, his player, as he went down to first base. Pollard bolted out of the third base dugout. Godwin bolted out of the dugout. They did not come face to face, but they were both coming at each other hard behind the plate. And it was the quickest double ejection that umpire and that crew in terms of, restoring order and keeping the peace. I mean, got right in between the two. But God bless Chris. I understand what Godwin was doing. If he was talking to Albright, yeah, there's a little bit of a line. But still, like, Albright was asking for that. But this is the beauty of the smack talking and baseball and the intimacy and the stirring it up and getting under each other's skin and allowing somebody to get under your skin, and then the retaliation. And now look what happens. ECU loses the game, but they lose Godwin with an ejection. But good on Pollard for coming out, even if Godwin wasn't even talking to Albright and was talking to the umpire at that moment of the game in the 8th inning, for Pollard to stand up for his guys regardless and come running out of the dugout and yelling at Godwin saying, "Don't talk to my play. You got something to say something to me." Just for both coaches for different reasons in standing up for what is right in that moment of the game, given what was at stake. I thought it was beautiful. It was great cinema. Two Titans in the coaching game, certainly in the state of North Carolina, and their reputation extends nationally. That was unique in the 8th inning. See, both coaches ran in a 6-4 game that Duke eventually won.
Yeah, that is pretty unique as well. But like you said, these are two guys that are super passionate about the game, super passionate about their teams, super passionate about winning these midweeks. Like you said, ECU gets up for these midweek games like this. They want to be the dominant team in the state of North Carolina in all sports, but notably in baseball, where they do compete to go to Omaha year in and year out. Usually, I mean, Cliff Godwin has built this ECU program into an absolute legendary beast. So these games matter to them even more probably than the American Athletic Conference games that they play, because generally speaking, they're top 2, top 3 in the Americans, and they know they're going to be that way for most of the times or most of their years. So, I love the emotion. I like that Chris Pollard went out and defended his guy. Whether it actually needed to happen, we don't really know, because we don't know what Cliff Godwin was saying. But I love the fire. I love the fire that these midweeks are bringing out, and that these situations are brewing. I guess is the right way to say it. And also good on the umpire, just making a move, just saying like, you're gone. I'm done with this. It's the 8th inning. It's monsooning. No thanks. Like, I'm out of here.
At that point, fortunately, the rain had subsided, but because Albright had acted the way he did an inning or two prior, good on the umpires for recognizing in that they knew that they were going to have a short lease and something may continue to boil over. Like, they had a beat on the situation, right? Yes. They knew the temperature of what was going on, and the home plate umpire was able to intervene immediately. Before John Michael Morris, Director of Recruiting for Vanderbilt, takes the stage, Con, let's go ahead and dial up our Burgos ball moment that delivered. It comes via a place that I was at earlier this year for Georgia Southern at Campbell. Campbell on the wrong end of UNCW's Cam Bagwell, throwing the first perfect game, came in 7 innings since 1968.
All right, here it is. Cam Bagwell, the final pitch. They're leading 12-0 in the 7th.
First pitch, swing and a miss.
Was this the final out? Oh, man, I screwed up.
Yeah, go ahead. Fast forward.
Fast forward.
That's one strike. That one's for their feet.
All right, here we go.
Camels down to their final out.
This is it.
Bagwell,
the final
for
strike.
Perfection. Swung on and missed.
There it is. Game over. 12-0 run rule win for UNCW as the freshman Cam Bagwell throws the second perfect game ever in UNC Wilmington Seahawks history. 7 innings though, Schass. 80 pitches, career long for the freshman. He gets it done. 12 zip the final, gets mobbed by his teammates. That was the only game that UNCW won on that weekend, by the way. Campbell won 2 out of 3 in that series. But great moment for Cam Bagwell as he gets the perfect game. The 6'5", 205-pound freshman from Pineville, North Carolina. First perfect game since 1968. First no-hitter since 1995. First perfect game in the history of the CAA, formerly known as the Colonial Athletic Association, now the Coastal Athletic Association. But first perfect game in either of those conferences' history, and he's now the pitcher of the week nationally by perfect game and the NCBWA. Cam Bagwell, well done with the Borgo ball moment that delivered.
BackyardBaseballBros.com. Their second order of balls have dropped, okay? More balls have dropped. More Borgo balls are available. Go to BackyardBaseballBros.com. Blake, Ty, Tatum, Brett, the 4 Bergogno brothers that have spawned and created, revolutionized the indoor baseball. Go to BackyardBaseballBros.com. Raised seams, most mimic a baseball. It's incredible stuff. The origin of this idea started 15 years ago. Dropped their first set of Borgo balls in January and sold out 2,000 of them. 500 packs of 4 have been out and delivered. We've got a couple ourselves, and there's more available. Go to BackyardBaseballBros.com. Yeah, a perfect game, Con, should not be considered a perfect game if it's less than 9 innings. I even ran it through AI, okay? Because that's what we do now, right? Artificial intelligence. Wikipedia, though, Reddit, all these different Google machine sources that I have conjured up to be sure that we shouldn't be considering 7 innings a perfect game. State a perfect game is defining as a game where a pitcher or pitchers completes a game of 9 innings or more without allowing any base runners. Games that last fewer than 9 innings, regardless of cause, in which a team has no base runners, do not qualify as perfect games. So I understand in the moment, if you're on the receiving end of a 7-inning, quote-unquote perfect game, certainly your program, your social team, your creative team, all of that, you want to prop it up. But, factually, that's incorrect in my mind. It's not – in a traditional sense, it's not a perfect game.
I agree, but here's the thing where I'll play the devil's advocate here. UNCW didn't have a choice to play the 8th or 9th innings. It was a run rule. Yeah. It's the letter of the law. So it was a Sunday getaway game, run rule game. Campbell had to go back, or UNCW had to go back home. 12 runs after 7, they won the game. So it's kind of at the detriment of Cam Bagwell. He might have thrown a full perfect game in the 8th or 9th innings. We don't know, but I agree with you on principle. 7 innings, it should not be called a no-hitter or a perfect game. Perfect games, especially, should be 9 innings, 27 up, 27 down.
Put an asterisk by it, that's for sure. Yep. John Michael Morris, director of Vanderbilt recruiting for the Vandy Boys, is going to join us coming up in a minute on Dugout, Dumbbells, and Dingers.
A true teammate takes on every day with a winner's attitude, gets up when they fall down, and leaves it all on the field. There's a group of teammates who do all these things every single day. But they're more than your typical athlete. They're kids dealing with unthinkable medical circumstances. Team Impact matches children facing serious illness or disability with college sports teams, creating a long-term, life-changing experience for everyone involved. Help us get all kids in the game. Visit teamimpact.org. Team Impact. All in, all together.
Hi, this is Rob Joyce. Each week, I'm joined by her Hoopstats Megan Gower as we break down the latest in women's basketball across the country on College Sports Now. We've got analysis, expert guests, the latest bracketology breakdowns, and more. From coast to coast, we've got you covered with all of the action now through the Final Four in April. Search College Sports Now wherever you get your podcasts, and check out herhoopstats.com for all of your women's basketball needs.
That one is swung on. This one is lifted. It is launched to right field. It is back and it is gone. A 3-run shot for Nelson. Oh, he tees up. Vanderbilt pours it on in the 7th. Goodness, Riley, his second big fly has a Vanderbilt coming on. New score 8-3. That was liftoff. That was a flamethrower deep to gone.
We got our own flamethrower. That's John Michael Morris, who works the middle innings with Andrew Allegretta from time to time, especially during the homestands in Nashville at the Hawk. JM, happy to have you on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. Riley Nelson, what was that? Just his second home run, Andrew said, right? But he is leading the team, and I'm trying to double-check, in average. I mean, this guy's hitting above or right around 375. He's one of these JUCO bandits that you deemed as when I helped work one of the broadcasts earlier this year. Tell me about Riley Nelson and what he's done for this program and how you found him.
Yeah, Kyle. So Riley, man, I don't know where we'd be without the find of Riley Nelson. You got to give Coach King a lot of credit for digging into his JUCO bandit contacts and finding that kid, because he was kind of flying under the radar. And honestly, he was actually, he obviously came from Yavapai out in Arizona, really good junior college. Put up some stupid numbers there with a wooden bat. So you knew he could hit. That's kind of the litmus test. If a kid can put up numbers in college with a wooden bat, there's some skill in there. And then he actually was committed to another school, went off to play summer ball in the draft league, and again, put up big numbers there, and decided to reopen his recruitment. And Coach King was all over it. And we got him and his parents here, and we didn't let him leave until he decided he wanted to be a Vandy boy.
I love that. You joined the program in 2023, been around it for many years. So I think it's an ultimate, full circle, really admirable ascent that you've had into this role, because you're an MTSU grad, 2011. You're from Nashville. You went to Vandy baseball camps, became a Vandy, baseball counselor, camp counselor, and now you're the director of recruiting. But I got to start with this IMBD page, man, because I've been racking my brain over this for a couple of days. I even had to bring my girlfriend in and ask her, is this the same guy? Is this the same guy? And then finally I was able to dive into your IG page. You're a young Hank Pym, right? You're a young Ant-Man.
Yeah, that was many, many moons ago. Feels like an entire lifetime ago now, but Yeah, I have a very unique path to get where I am now. I'm very fortunate for sure, but yeah, I've worn a few different hats in my time. Just to kind of give you the quick 360-degree view, kind of my life. As you mentioned, I went to MTSU. Originally went there as an invited walk-on to play baseball, and then also their program for broadcast journalism was top notch at that time, and I'm sure it is still really good. So the long-term goal for me was I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I knew at some point I wasn't going to be able to continue to play baseball. I wasn't that skilled. Coach Corbin, even though I used to come to his prospect camps, didn't think I was good enough to play at Vanderbilt. So that was kind of an eye-opening thing there. I'm like, all right, baseball is going to probably end for me at some point. So what do I want to do? And I knew I wanted to be around sports in some capacity. My grandfather was in broadcasting for years, calling at the time Big 8 games and a radio disc jockey. And so I kind of found myself drawn to sports broadcasting, went to MTSU, got my degree in that. But I have a unique upbringing, having grown up in Nashville. The reason I grew up in Nashville was all of my family, my dad, my grandfather were in the music industry. So I grew up around that with a lot of contacts in the agent world and that kind of stuff. And so as a kid, I started acting, just doing, music videos and commercial shoots and that kind of thing. And by the time I got into college, it actually was starting to become more real. And I was booking, guest appearances on network TV shows and stuff like that. So when it came time to graduate, my options were, take a $10 an hour job out in Los Angeles with Fox Sports as a PA. I think there was a couple other PR jobs with some big league clubs that, didn't pay much of anything, or continued to chase this crazy acting thing. So I ended up doing that for a while. I remained around baseball, kept coaching at the high school level as an assistant. But yeah, kind of one thing led to another. And, ultimately I ended up cast in the final chapter of the Avenger Marvels chapter there with Avengers Endgame as the young version of Hank Pym. Yeah. And then, obviously COVID hit and kind of shut down that world. And it was just the first time I had a chance to really breathe since graduating college and be like, do I want to do this long term, or do I want to follow my passions and get back into baseball? And so then I started the journey to get back into baseball full time. And I'm very fortunate to have landed at Vanderbilt as quickly as I did, because as you all know, it's a grind to get into the sports world, the baseball world. You start at the bottom. And so to be here where I am now, I count my blessings every day. And Coach Corbin, obviously, and Maggie, his wife, played a big part in that too. Obviously just pre-existing relationships and working at camp, and to have this opportunity now for, obviously, I'm biased, but I think, the best program in college baseball over the last 20 years is kind of surreal.
That is an incredible, unique, winding path to get to where you are today, really back where it all started for you, growing up in Nashville. I do want to ask one more thing related to Avengers Endgame, because, I've seen the movie. I don't know, Kyle, if Kyle's actually seen the movie, but the cast of Avengers Endgame is nuts. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Joe, Jeremy Renner, Paul Rudd, Benedict Cumberbatch, the late Chadwick Boseman, Tom Holland, Zoe Saldana. I mean, you go down, the cast is iconic. Any good stories from that movie? I don't know how much you were on set with that group of just, incredible superstar actors and actresses, but any good stories that come to your mind?
I had a couple run-ins with a couple of them. Obviously, a production that size is massive. And they actually were shooting Avengers Infinity War and Endgame at the same time. So I actually shot Endgame, my stuff in Endgame, back in 2017. And that movie didn't even come out, obviously, until middle of 2019. So they were finishing up both movies simultaneously. So in my scene, it's very brief, and you probably wouldn't even recognize me because there's CGI involved to make me look more like Michael Douglas. But that is me. And in that scene, I got to work with Chris Evans, Captain America, which was really cool. And that was a surreal moment in and of itself, because, I'm already my heart's beating out of my chest as they come to my trailer to get me to go shoot this scene. And so I'm meeting people as I go, and the PAs are introducing me to the Russo brothers. Obviously, they're directing the film, and so they, have got to talk to me about some blocking and different stuff like that. They're introducing me to everyone on set, and I'm just trying to take it all in and they casually and go, and this is Chris, and he'll be in the scene with you. And I look up, and it's Chris Evans. I'm like, oh, like the Chris. Okay, the Chris. Got it. No worries. And then of course Michael Douglas, he was there, so he actually shot the scenes simultaneous with me. Like what happened was we were dressed identical. We were both wearing Michael Douglas 1970s style hair in a wig form. And so I got to meet Michael. Me, him, and the Russo brothers kind of stood there and talked things through, mostly Michael Douglas doing the talking because he's Michael Douglas. And then he shot the scene about 5 times. And I watched on the monitor off to the side. And then he got done. And Joe Russo walks up to me and he goes, so what we want you to do is basically just replicate exactly what he did. And I was like, got it. No worries. One of the most iconic actors of our generation. Let me just replicate what he just did. So then I went in and shot the scene and just tried to do everything I saw him do in terms of like movement and that kind of stuff while also rehearsing the lines. And we got it in about 5 takes. They said they had what they needed. And that was the biggest sigh of relief I think I've ever had in my life. Because the last thing you want to do in a billion-dollar movie production is be the guy that holds it up. So that was cool. And then I went back a couple weeks later to do some stuff in the VFX machine so that they could kind of match our faces and movements and that kind of stuff. And while I was there working in that, they asked me if I could step out of the VFX machine so they could knock out some of Scarlett's stuff. And Scarlett Johansson walked in and got to talk to her for a brief moment, and she could not have been more kind and sweet. So yeah, those were kind of the 3 main characters that I got to meet on set. And then obviously the Russo brothers as well. So yeah, it was incredible, surreal. Before I was at Vanderbilt and get to work with the coaches that I get to work with every day, definitely the coolest thing that I've ever done in my life. But, being a baseball guy, getting to be around Tim Corbin every day is kind of right up there at the top of the list for me.
No doubt. John Michael Morris on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. Incredible story. I appreciate you peeling back the onion, the curtains on how it is you got to this position and to the movie career, which you may have hung that up. You may have put it behind you. Speaking of holding people up, though, you don't want to hold up all these movie stars. You're Scarlett Johansson. You're a young Michael Douglas, working alongside him. I brought my morning routine on the show with me today. I don't know if you noticed the banana peel.
Oh, wow.
Are you an Ashton Hall subscriber? Have you seen this viral video that has hit the social sphere in the last week?
I have not. Please enlighten me.
I will share this with you. This guy wipes his face with a banana peel. I've already dunked my head in a bowl of ice cold water with ice cubes. It's like
I think I did see this. Is this dude like jacked?
Yeah, super jacked. He's a fitness
I
entrepreneur. It's wild, man. It's crazy. So I'm poking fun at it here today. But look, you are a dashing gentleman, certainly in looks, as am I. David Kahn, he's almost there. He's not as old as us. He'll be there. Okay, we age like fine wine. All right, I'm a 20.
My wife. I'm sorry. I was gonna say my wife tells me all the time. She'll see like old photos of me, and she'll be like, "Oh gosh, you were not good looking." I'm like, "What are you talking about? My skin looks so much better there. I look so much older now." She goes, "No, you look better now." I'm like, "Thanks, honey," but she is my wife, so I do pay her to say that.
Yeah. Well, Khan's a little bit younger than us. I graduated 2011 as well. Khan, when did you graduate Tulane?
I graduated 2016, but hang on here. Your wife says you look better now than you did back then. Hang on. I just pulled up your headshot. Let's show the people what you used to look like.
Gosh.
Okay. Come on.
Gosh. Which headshot
Yes,
is this?
pull that in. Here it is.
Oh my
Look
goodness.
at this.
Okay. I didn't see that one.
All right. Yep, that's me.
There he is.
I was probably 20, I would say 24, 25 in that photo. So
okay.
Oh gosh,
Yep.
That's great.
There we go.
That's great.
All right.
Well,
Embarrassment.
for the YouTube audience, Dugouts, Dumbbells, Dingers, we appreciate you for joining and watching there. Let's get to some baseball because you talked about how both Tim and Maggie helped to make this thing happen because of how long you had been around the program. You were local. You love baseball. You realized at some point, like I probably did in my own playing career, not speaking for you, but it's like, okay, I'm not gonna be a Major League Baseball superstar that I had dreamt of my entire life. How do I stay close to the game? How do I stay close to sports? For me, it was broadcasting, and I'm gonna try to see this through as long as far as I can go. But knowing all of that and knowing the role that you have, and we'll get to what the role actually means and the collaboration that exists between you, Tim Corbin, and everybody else within that program. for you becoming the director of recruiting, knowing that you had become so embedded throughout your childhood and your teenage years with that program in so many different ways in early college, working under one of the game's most accomplished head coaches, a legendary fixture in Tim Corbin for the Vandy boys. This has to just weigh on you in the most extraordinary amount of ways, knowing the role that you now have and how full circle has come. It's got to mean a lot more to you satisfaction-wise for what you're doing.
Oh, there's no question. I pinch myself every morning I wake up that I get to come into this facility every single day with all of these, and you can't see right outside of my office, but we have our MLB hallway where we've got, I think it's 36 or 37 jerseys hanging up there in the wall. And then, I walk past the national championship trophies every single day. Anytime I leave my office, it's unreal. And, just to kind of go back, to where it started for me, my love of Vanderbilt baseball, I came to prospect camp as a freshman in high school, all the way back in, and I'm going to date myself again, all the way back in 2004. And Coach Corbin had just gotten here. I think he had just completed his second season at Vanderbilt. And when Coach Corbin got here, Vanderbilt baseball was not Vanderbilt baseball. They had some players and some years here and there, but they hadn't even been to an SEC tournament, I think, in 13 years when Coach Corbin got here. And the stadium that we play in, which we're about to get a brand new stadium as well. The facilities are obviously already top notch, and our stadium is wonderful. We love the place that we play, Hawkins Field, but it's about to be, in my opinion, the crown jewel of college baseball here over the next couple of years when they're done with all the renovations. But when Coach Corbin got here, it was literally a high school field. Like, it had high school bleachers and a little tiny press box. So to see the evolution of this program for 23 years now, to have a front row seat at that is incredible. But when I came to camp that first year, Vanderbilt was coming off one of its best seasons in program history and just Coach Corbin's second year here. And there was a buzz around the city because Vanderbilt baseball hadn't been good in a really long time. And when I went to that camp, it was a week-long camp. We stayed on campus, just being around him that week and seeing his attention to detail and the way he ran the camp. He was, still to this day, one of the only head coaches at the Power 5 level, Power 4, whatever we're calling it now, that still runs his own camps. He makes the rosters and puts the teams together, which is just unreal. And just my experience that week at camp, I was like, and I've been to a lot of other camps as well. I was like, this guy's different. Like, he's going to do some special things here at this program just because of the way he is wired. He learns all of the 300 campers' names throughout the week. And so, yeah, from that point on, I was hooked. And then the 2007 season came. I was in college then, but I made sure I got out to as many games at Hawkins Field as I could. And that was the David Price, Ryan Flaherty, Pedro Alvarez, Casey Weathers year. And that team ended up with 4 first-round picks. David Price obviously won one after that year. They were the number 1 team in the nation most of the year and unfortunately got upset in the first regional they ever hosted right here by Michigan with David Price on the mound in relief, ironically. But I was in the right field bleachers, which at that time we didn't have outfield seating here. They had a temporary set of bleachers out there in right field to make Hawkins Field big enough to host a regional. And I scalped tickets on the street before the game because there weren't any tickets to be had, paid way too much for a college baseball game, and sat out there in the bleachers in right field to watch Vanderbilt hopefully, earn a berth in the super regional. And it wasn't meant to be that night, but to see where we were in 2007 to where it is now, obviously getting to Omaha in 2011, and then playing for 4 national championships, and being able to win 2 of those over the course of the last, 10 years or so, has been incredible. And so to get to work under that guy who's turned out so many incredible professional players and had so many coaches that have branched not only all over college baseball, but professional baseball and front office roles, bench coach roles, all over the place. And then even other staff members that are now, very successful agents. Or Carter Hawkins is the general manager for the Cubs now. He was a player here at Vanderbilt for 4 years. It's just incredible to see how the Tim Corbin coaching tree, if you will, and, staff tree has evolved over the years. And then to see where the program is now is just unreal. And the support that we get from, and he gets from the university is also top notch. Like, there are very few, SEC schools that you would consider, quote unquote baseball school. But Vanderbilt is right up there. And obviously our football program has been crushing it this past year, and they're heading in a great direction with Coach Lee, and same with our 2 basketball programs, the men's and women, just getting into the tournament this year. But it's a good time for Vanderbilt athletics right now. And this baseball team kind of helped, I think. Coach Corbin kind of helped, all of the athletic program, along with our athletic director, Candace Lee, who is just incredible. And so, yeah, it's a good time to be at Vanderbilt right now.
Boy, I mean, we're just going to clip that little diatribe that you just went on and send it to Vanderbilt marketing, because that's the perfect pitch for any recruit that wants to come to Vanderbilt, whatever sport it is. I mean, you just sold me, and I don't have any college eligibility left, neither does Kyle. and I want to come play for Vanderbilt, whatever sport I can play. Now, I'm not athletic by any means. I try my best to fake it until I make it, but my sports are pickleball and kickball. So that's why I'm a broadcaster, just like you.
So, pickleball, yeah. Maggie and Corbs, big pickleball players. Maggie, his wife, former college tennis player. And she still plays tennis a lot, but she loves her some pickleball. So she'll play that a lot. She'll go find a place to play pickleball anytime we're on the road, because she travels with us everywhere. So maybe you can swing by sometime and play some pickleball with Maggie.
Hoover. Are you telling me? Yeah, I'll say, tell Maggie, bring her paddle to Hoover. All right.
It's everywhere with her.
All right, cool. We're me, Maggie, Tim Corbin, you, Kyle, pickleball court, Hoover. Let's do it. All right.
Maggie will dominate us, so just get ready.
Doesn't matter. I just want to play. That'd be amazing. Thank you for all of that. That was incredible stuff. Just to hear, the journey of Vanderbilt baseball through your eyes as a fan, as a participant in the camp, and now as a member of the Vanderbilt staff, especially just all under Tim Corbin. Like that's so cool to just see that develop over the years. And I love that you brought up the Major League wall. You can see the jerseys out there, the former players, especially with the announcement that came yesterday, Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, 2/5 of the Texas Rangers opening day rotation, who were on that 2019 team for Vanderbilt that won it all in Omaha. So incredible stuff 6 years later. I want to go dive deeper into your role, though, the director of recruiting, because it's important to kind of make a distinction to understand this is not a general manager role where you're managing aspects of the roster construction. That's really under the purview of Tim Corbin. You mentioned he built the rosters for those camps. He knows the names of those players even, but there is a certain level of collaboration, right, between you and Tim Corbin, right? You're taking kind of his vision, implementing it into your own voyage, and building out a national championship level program, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, there is a lot of, team. There's a team aspect to obviously what we do, and a lot of collaboration. You can see the boards behind me. Hopefully the names aren't legible. I'm not giving away any trade secrets right now. But I would say it's very collaborative between myself, and the entire coaching staff. Obviously, we're very fortunate to have an incredible staff as well, as you would expect with a guy like Tim Corbin at the helm. But obviously Coach King and Coach Blankmeyer in their first year here at Vanderbilt, and Coach King has incredibly decorated past as a head coach prior to coming to Vanderbilt, and he left the head coaching role at Dayton to come here to be an assistant because of Tim Corbin and what he's built here, and he's always wanted to be a part of this program as well. And Coach King has done an incredible job, on the hitting side of things, working with our catchers, and then Coach Blankmeyer being our new recruiting coordinator. He built some pretty dynamic rosters over at Duke after a couple of years there, and has a scouting background. He had spent 6 years as a Northeast scout for the Milwaukee Brewers, and has a real eye and ability for evaluation and finding the right players, and projecting, one of those baseball buzzwords. And of course played at St. John's for his dad, Eddie Blankmeyer, Hall of Fame coach at St. John's for 25 plus years. And then of course, Coach Brown, a lot of connection to St. John's. Coach Brown was the pitching coach at St. John's for Eddie Blankmeyer. So Coach Brown, Coach Corbin had known Ty since he was like 12 years old. So he's literally grown up around those guys, and was in the dugout when Brownie was the pitching coach, and then played at St. John's as well. But of course, Coach Brown has been here since 2013. Now replaced Derek Johnson when he left for the big leagues, and he's still, the big league pitching coach for the Cincinnati Reds. So Coach Corbin's only had two pitching coaches here in 23 years, which is remarkable. And Coach Brown has had many opportunities to go, elsewhere, go to the pro game, but he has stayed here at Vanderbilt, and he's turned out, as you mentioned a couple arms a minute ago, Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker. He's turned out some pretty good big league arms during his time here. And so the continuity there on that side of the ball has been incredible. Ty's ability as a recruiter and, evaluator, and Coach King as well, obviously, being the guy that brought Riley Nelson here, has been incredible. So to get to work with those guys that have accomplished so much at the college level and the professional level in some cases with Ty is awesome. So it's very collaborative. The boards, you see behind me, or, me keeping our prep lists. And, right now I'm working on our 27 class right now, and really lining out who we want to see this summer, because this will be our summer for the 2027 recruiting class. This past summer and fall was all about our 2026 class, which is an incredible class that Coach Blankmeyer and the whole staff and I feel very fortunate that we were able to put together. It's just really assisting those guys, providing whatever they need, and just knowing the names, building the relationships. I think that's the biggest part of my role, is relationships, and not only with our commits, staying in touch with those guys, making them feel like they're a part of this program before they get here. But also, building those relationships with the guys that we want to recruit, whether that's talking to their high school coach, talking to people around them. Obviously, in this age of college baseball, you're now dealing with, agents and advisors as well, which is kind of wild. I'm here to support the coaching staff in whatever way I can. And then when we get a kid on campus, I'm kind of the point person that shows them around, makes them feel welcome, and gets them, to see the people that they need to see, kind of thing.
Okay, you bring up agents. I got to pick it up right there, because I am curious. You're rolling a red carpet out in a lot of ways for recruits when they do make their visits, but you also got to, be a handler of sorts for handling the agent aspect. How unique has that been? I'm sure it's a learning process for everyone. It's so new, right? And certainly for you being part of this program in your role, director of recruiting since 2023, just one more thing to consider. But what does the red carpet treatment look like when recruits do come? And then how does that differ? And how different is managing the relationship of scouts whenever they come to see a guy or are in your facilities?
Yeah. So, when a kid comes to campus, obviously we want to make them as comfortable as possible. And I think, the thing that really, in my opinion, sets Vanderbilt apart is the people that are here. So that's what we really try and hit on is we want them to meet everyone in the building, from our strength coaches to obviously all of the coaching staff. We have a really large support staff as well that are here all the time, just like the rest of us. So it's really just trying to make them feel comfortable, make them feel like this is a place they could see themselves, for 3 to 4 years of college. And, just getting them around and highlighting all the things about campus. It's very unique here at Vanderbilt. And Coach Corbin, make sure our guys don't ever lose sight of this, but you essentially get to come to Vanderbilt, because of your athletic abilities, you get your education paid for, and you're getting an Ivy League education, essentially, and getting to compete in the SEC, which, I would say is probably the best conference in all of college athletics. And that's unique. That's the only place in the country that you can do that, is get a top-notch, top 15 degree in the country and also compete in the best sport conference in the country. So that in and of itself, to me, is one of the best selling points for Vanderbilt. We just want those kids, when they get on campus, and their parents to feel comfortable. And obviously it's easy to walk around these halls here. And like I mentioned, the MLB hallway, and you see the championship trophies. So it kind of sells itself a little bit. And Tim Corbin, obviously that's a pretty easy selling point. You don't have to do a lot there. They get some time with Corbs in the office. And usually when they come out of that meeting, they're like, all right, yeah, this is the place for me, because you can just listen to that guy speak, not just about baseball, but about life. I could for hours on end. Usually when parents are here on a visit with their kid and they get a chance to meet with Corb for an hour and a half, they're usually feeling pretty good about it.
You mean it's not a visit to Broadway or any one of the fine establishments that downtown Nashville has?
We do definitely try and highlight the city as well. So we'll do dinner with them and that kind of stuff. We'll make sure we take them to a really cool place and say, hey, where else are you going to get this in the SEC? Because taking nothing away from any of those incredible college towns, because they are incredible college towns, but Nashville is unique. It's a unique beast in and of itself, because it's the only SEC school in a place like Nashville. It's kind of an it city where everyone wants to move right now. So we've got that going for us too. And then as far as the agents go, I didn't really hit on that. I'm fortunate to obviously have a lot of experience in the agent world, from my previous career. And then my wife worked in the agency world for a number of years as well. So that was a little bit easier transition for me than maybe it was for some. But yeah, with those guys, it's just about building those relationships. That's the big thing, because when you start talking about getting high profile recruits to campus and stuff, versus MLB draft versus them coming to school, obviously it's pretty key to be tied into the agent there and kind of have a finger on the pulse in those situations.
Nashville is my favorite city in the world, hands down. Had a bachelor party there in August. Certainly it's a bachelorette capital of the world type of thing. But there's more to Nashville than that. But I'm okay with it just being Broadway, honestly. Move me there right now. Like, that is my kind of place. It certainly will be the place for a lot of Arkansas Razorback fans this weekend.
Oh, my gosh. We'll have a lot of them here.
You'll have a lot of hog calling in the streets of Nashville and along Broadway. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully Vanderbilt does everything they can from your perspective and being able to minimize that. But 14th ranked Vanderbilt hosting second-ranked Arkansas, lost in the midweek to Missouri State. But Vanderbilt, coming off the sweep of Texas A&M, beat Eastern Kentucky 10-0 on Tuesday night, 20-5 overall, now 3-2 in the league off the sweep of A&M, hosting Arkansas this weekend. John Michael Morris.
I think we're 4-2 in the league.
Yeah, 4-2. Your schedule page, as soon as I read 3-2, I'm like, that isn't right. Get on your schedule page, person, okay? I'm not trying to, expose any warts here, but I'm just reading what I'm like. I'm Ron Burgundy. All right, whatever I see, I'm going to say it. You brought up the agent,
San Diego.
Yes. Yeah. The agent part of it. This is where I wanted to go, and it makes sense that this might help you in that arena because of the 2 years that you spent at Sports Info Solutions in Pennsylvania as an MLB video scout. By the way, you were an assistant at the middle school, high school level as well. But with this analytical company per se in Pennsylvania, you gained some valuable experience there in both, I'm sure, the analytical side, but to that relationship aspect of it.
Oh, for sure. My time at SIS, I'm very fortunate that I got to do that. And while it was a difficult time in my life because I had to leave my wife and move away. Actually, we weren't married at the time, but had to leave Nashville, head up to the Pennsylvania area. It's in Copley, PA. So that was a big change for me, and I worked a lot of hours, and it was my first introduction into the professional side of baseball. But I learned to watch baseball in ways I never knew possible, the things that you look for from a scouting standpoint. So that company actually was co-founded by Bill James back in the day. The Bill James Handbook, if you've ever seen Moneyball, and Billy Bean. So he based that whole premise off of Bill James and kind of the analytical side of the game. Obviously, the A's were the first team to kind of really go with the analytics. Does he get on base? That kind of stuff. If you've seen that movie, one of the most underrated baseball movies of all time. I love that movie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It does not get enough credit. I think for sure it's top 5. I might even be willing to put it in top 3. I went and saw that movie 3 times in theaters by myself. I brought in a full fresh tin of Copenhagen. I had a couple of, pocket beers, if you will, and just cuddled up, and it was pure euphoria. Every time. Amazing.
Say that word again, Schass. Euphoria.
There you go. I don't know how to speak sometimes, JM. All right.
I saw that movie pre-screening before it even came out. I got access to a limited edition pre-screening of Moneyball, and it was exactly as Schass said, euphoric. That movie is awesome. Anytime it's on TV, I have to keep watching.
Same. I've seen it probably 25, 30 times now, and it's just as good every time. I absolutely love it. My wife even loves that movie. Like, she'll watch it with me. And obviously she's more of a baseball fan now than she was when I met her.
True.
But
she has to be.
But if I can get her to sit down and watch a sports movie like that with me, it's good. But yeah, that experience at SIS and getting to, for the first time in my life, watch the game through a scout's eye, if you will, was incredibly beneficial to me. And I can't watch a baseball game now on TV without still like thinking about some of those principles and stuff that they taught us there. Because we serviced all of Major League Baseball in terms of analytical data, as well as all the levels of minor league and a little bit of NCAA as well. So, I learned a tremendous amount there in 2 years. Like I said, I worked my tail off, a lot of hours for not a whole lot of pay. But, I'm very blessed that I did it. And ultimately, I think helped open the door here at Vanderbilt as well.
I think
Certainly.
there's a point too you can't gloss over. You left your wife before you were married. You left her. You moved. I mean, the personal strain that you went through to try and elevate your career, and then you were able to come back home. I mean, that's my favorite part of your entire story, to be honest. Just selfishly, I love that you were able to stomach that, make that sacrifice, and leave. And so far to this point, everything has worked out. So that's awesome, man. Good on y'all for working through that.
It has worked out more, better than we could have ever imagined. Getting to stay here in Nashville, where I met my wife. She's not from here. She's from Southern California, went to school in Boston, but moved to Nashville after college. And, she never wanted to leave after she got here. So when we found out that we were going to get to stay here, long term, when I got hired here at Vanderbilt was just, incredible for sure. But, if I have any piece of advice for anyone that, ends up listening to this or watching this that, wants to get into baseball, it's, you got to be willing to do things that you feel like maybe at times are beneath you. I was 31 years old at the time, essentially going back to the drawing board and starting a career over after already having another career. So, I definitely had to humble myself for sure. But I'm glad that I did. And like you said, it worked out better than I could have ever dreamed.
No, that's perfect analogy or perfect, advice for anyone wanting to get into baseball, especially into, broadcasting as well. You got to do the little things. You got to do everything and be willing to do anything. I've been the mascot. I've pulled tarp. I mean, you got to do it all, especially when you're working in the minor leagues and even in college ball. Like it's summer ball as well. Like it is, you got to be willing to do it all. So I love that advice from you. You talked about scouting and how you still watch games with the scout's eye today. So let's talk a little scouting and recruiting timeline right now, because you mentioned you're working on the 2027 class. The contact period from now until July 31st. You have the exception of the week after the SEC tournament from Memorial Day, a couple days during the College World Series. Then you go dead on the 4th of July holiday. What's a normal day for you like right now? Or is there a normal day?
No. It's kind of all over the place. It just depends on the day, the week. Honestly, this is one of the slower times for me when we're in season, just because there's not as much going on from a recruiting standpoint in terms of on campus, outside of, our guys, our commits, wanting to come to games and that kind of stuff. So whenever they want to come to a game, whether they're local or they're flying in, whatever it might be, then obviously, I'm spending time with those guys and, sitting up in the stands with them. If no one's here, I'll be down in the dugout with the team. And then obviously, as Kyle, as in the middle innings up in the radio booth with Andrew Allegretta. But outside of that, it's really just me prepping for this summer and the guys that our coaches are going to want to go out and see. And because of the new recruiting rules, you can't talk to kids anymore until August 1st of their junior year, which we think is awesome. And actually our coaching staff pushed for that a lot because it was kind of getting out of control with, team programs committing 8th graders and freshmen and stuff like that. So you kind of felt like, even though you didn't want to recruit really, really young guys, you felt like you had to get in early or you were going to miss out on some of the top guys. So this is good for everyone, because freshman in high school, you don't know what you're looking for in a school. You don't know what you want to do. And as from our perspective as evaluators, you're just really trying to project, what that kid's going to be in 4 years. So this is good for everyone. It kind of slows the process down a little bit. So since, we're in a good place with our 2026 class from the fall. We can't talk to any of the 2027s right now. So right now it's just gaining information on them from their high school coaches, from their summer coaches, making a prep list of the guys that we want to make it a priority to see when the events start this summer, kind of thing. So that's kind of one of the main things that I'm focusing on right now, as well as keeping up with all of our incoming commits in the 25 and 26 class, keeping a finger on the pulse with them as they go through their high school seasons, talking to them on the regular, and then kind of getting an idea of how the draft is going to shape up this summer. And, not only what, we potentially could lose from our current roster, but what, is going to be a risk for us in the incoming class as well. That's the big thing you got to navigate when you get to the summer, is holding on to those guys in your recruiting class. And, that's something that really kind of devastated our program back in 21 and 22 when we lost, way too many of our guys to the draft. and kind of set us back for a couple of years. And that's why you kind of saw a little bit of a roster reshape coming into this season, because we just didn't have the depth because of guys that didn't get to campus. And now with NIL and all that kind of thing in the fold, it's obviously a little bit different. You can try and, maybe get some guys to campus that you otherwise wouldn't have in the past, which is, I guess, one of the upsides to this crazy world of college athletics that we're in now. But yeah, it just, like you said, that's a long-winded answer for, it's a little bit different every single day and every single week for me.
NIL certainly changes the calculus. Plus, you got Vandy United, the NIL branch and arm, $300 million investment into student athletes and the facilities at Vanderbilt University. Not to mention, Vandy's got, I think last check, a $10 billion plus endowment from a year ago. So there's a lot of tools, a lot of resources, a lot of, calculating and work that goes into the formula in fielding a competitive roster and product on the field, no matter what the sport is at Vanderbilt. JM, you've been incredible. Just a couple more minutes. I know we've kept you long, but you mentioned the broadcasting, and I know there's been that influence in your family. I would imagine you're really scratching that itch kind of in a lot of ways and enjoy getting behind the mic with Andrew Allegretta for those middle innings. So not just an integral facet of the Vandy boys operation on the field, you're serenading Commodore fans on the radio too. Who is that Andrew guy that you share the mic with? I feel like you should be calling all of the action. Put Andrew to the side.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, Andrew and I love getting the opportunity to work with Andrew, and I'm so honored that he even asked. Last year was my first year doing it with him. And so the fact that he even asked and thought of me in that regard was an honor to me. And, Andrew is such a professional and does an incredible job. And have a blast with him. He and I, if you've ever listened, we kind of rip on each other a lot. We've got a good dynamic between the two of us. I think we both have very sarcastic personalities. And so it plays well off each other, and I just kind of feed off of him, and I'd like to think vice versa. But it definitely, to your point, it definitely scratches an itch for me, because for the longest time in my life, dating back to when I was probably in middle school, that's what I want to do. I used to sit in front of baseball games, and I would turn the volume down or mute it and practice calling the game myself as the game was happening. So to now get to do that in a color commentary role for Vanderbilt baseball, a team that I love and care for so much, is definitely a dream come true. And to get to work with this program every single day in the capacity that I do, while also getting to go on the radio with Andrew and talk about this team, it's, like I said, it's a dream come true. It's awesome. And, I don't know what the future holds down the road. And, I know Corbs isn't going to coach forever. I'm obviously going to ride it out here at Vanderbilt as long as I possibly can. But, down the road, if, this experience can open doors to other areas and kind of a real interesting full circle moment, get to find myself doing that down the road, that would be awesome. But, I'm happy with where I'm at right now, and I'm going to continue to soak it up and learn as much as I can from this incredible coaching staff and the amazing people that we have in this building and in this athletic department.
That's awesome, man. And throughout this entire conversation, you have the chops, you have the skill, you have the upside in speaking, in telling a story, in also, concluding a thought and getting to the next thought, because you have teed up every single question I think Kahn and I were planning on getting to, or at least getting you out on it. And I want to leave you with this final thought, for us in terms of what might be now. I mean, yeah, you're going to ride this thing out. You got the voice of an angel. We know that. You got the work ethic of Hercules. We know that. Least surprising thing, considering you're a young Ant-Man with an IMDb pen, okay? It's just incredible stuff. But, if you were to see yourself in 20 years, what is the ultimate dream job? What is the ultimate fulfillment for John Michael Morris following this run as director of recruiting?
Well, first and foremost, the main focus is, I want to be a part of a national championship team here. I got a little taste of it here, and obviously as a fan, haven't had a taste of it. But in 2023, we were a national seed, hosted a regional, won the SEC tournament that year. So I got a little bit of taste of what being a national championship contender is like. And so that's kind of the focal point right now is helping this coaching staff put together a roster that can go out and win another national championship. So that is numero uno in terms of goals. And past that, I don't know. If you had told me 10 years ago that I was going to be in this position, I would have been like, okay, if that's what you say. I don't believe you for a second. So, I don't know what the future holds. For the longest time, I wanted to be, a broadcaster. And then all of a sudden, when I decided I wanted to work on more of, the front office side of baseball, I was like, I want to be a major league GM. So that was a goal for a long time. So that would be pretty cool if and when I ever got an opportunity to work in a major league front office. But, I really enjoy the broadcast side. Podcasting is awesome. I love what you guys do. Like, that to me would be a whole lot of fun to get on here and talk about things that you love and that you're passionate about and get to interview cool people and that kind of stuff. So I don't know, TV analyst, something like that. We'll see what the good Lord has in store. I'm just going to keep, like you said, riding this out and see what's next. And I'm very fortunate that I have the most incredibly supportive wife and family that have helped me to get to where I am now. And priorities always are changing. I got a little 1-year-old girl at home now too. So that she's kind of taken over my world in the best way possible. Has me wrapped right around her finger. So I'm not going to put parameters on anything. We'll see what God has in store in the future, and we'll go from there. But like you said, I'm going to ride it out here at Vanderbilt as long as I can, and hopefully we can bring home that trophy again here soon.
The J.M. Morris, you can find him on Twitter, on X, on Instagram as well if you want to give him a follow. John Michael Morris, Director of Recruiting for Vanderbilt. This has been exquisite, man, extraordinary visit. Appreciate you sharing your story with us, all of our listeners, viewers, and I think the Vanderbilt family and conglomerate of folks who follow the Vandy boys and not just baseball will really appreciate your insight for sure. So I appreciate you joining us, man. Take care. We'll keep in touch, and good luck to you and the Vandy boys the rest of the way. We'll see you in Hoover coming up near Memorial Day.
Pickleball, bring the paddles.
All right, we'll do it. Kyle, David, thank you guys so much for having me. Just an honor to come on with you guys. So thank you for the invite, and happy to come back anytime. But appreciate what you guys do. And let's definitely connect in Hoover. Maybe we can grab some food or something down there.
Yeah,
would love to do it. That's awesome.
That would be great, man. I'm going to boot you from this room. Go ahead and mute your camera, close it up, but just stay on the feed for a little bit so the video can upload, and I'll text you when we're good. All right, buddy? I appreciate you so much. We'll talk soon. John Michael Morris. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
All right, David and I will be back. We'll wrap up the show in 60 seconds. It's Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers.
College sports fans now have access to hundreds of weekly podcasts that zero in on the college sports world. Now available in the Varsity Podcast Network and part of the new Varsity app. The app is free and available from wherever you get your favorite apps. Download the Varsity app today to have access to hundreds of national podcasts as well as your favorite team-focused podcasts. The Varsity Podcast Network, now available for free on the Varsity app. Download from the App Store and listen today.
Which schools will take home the prestigious Learfield Directors Cup as the top college athletic programs for the 2024-25 college athletics season? You can follow the standings of your favorite team or alma mater at L Directors Cup on Twitter and online at thedirectorscup.com. Trophies will be awarded in June 2025 to the winning institutions in all college sports divisions. Learfield Directors Cup, the crowning achievement in college athletics.
Delivers. Low knees. In the air. Fly ball. Right field. The ball is out of here. A walk-off grand slam. Alex Lowndes has walked this off with a grand slam. He hits for the cycle. Alex Lowndes has ended this ball game. Florida State wins in 7-4. Noles win. Noles win.
What a moment there with the call from Eric Lou Allen on the Seminole Sports Network. That's the Florida State Seminoles upsetting the Florida Gators in grand fashion in Jacksonville in a neutral site game last night. Florida State goes from being up 3-2 in the top of the ninth, coughing up the lead with Florida scoring 2 in the top half, and then FSU notches 5 in the bottom of the ninth for their first walk-off win in the series since 2015. Alex Lowndes, the hero, with a walk-off grand slam home run. They win it 7-4, and he completes the cycle for the first cycle for FSU since 2019 and their first walk-off homer for Florida State since 2022. What a ninth inning we had last night, Florida State over Florida, in a game that Florida desperately needed to win. What a gut punch for the Gators, and what a moment for Alex Lodis and the Seminoles, Kyle.
Wait, so he hit for the cycle too? Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Wait, double whammy, right?
Yep.
Triple
the
whammy.
Grand Slam is the cycle.
Jeez.
Yeah.
We were chronicling, by the way, John Michael Morris.
Oh my God.
Saint. That was incredible.
Oh.
That was awesome. A lot of fun to visit with him. So much. I hope he enjoyed it as much as we did. Vanderbilt folks will certainly love that. We got about 10 minutes left in the program, so we're going to rattle through some of these other midweek results. But yeah, epic finish with Florida State over Florida. Gators continue to backslide. Again, 0-6 in the SEC. We talked about it off the top before we got to JM. And what Georgia was able to do to them this past weekend was just even more demoralizing. The Bulldogs had no issues in their midweek yesterday as they knocked off North Florida. And I do want to use this as an opportunity to highlight my dude as well, as we kind of just roll through some of these other items here and then get to the weekend slate before signing off on this edition. It's been an immaculate show. But Rylan Zaborowski of Georgia is 7th with a .467 batting average with 14 home runs and 48 RBIs. He had that homer that gave Georgia the 8-7 win over Florida this past weekend. He's one of my two dudes. Both are Georgia guys. One a Georgia Bulldog, one a Georgia Yellow Jacket. So a dog and a bee. But Florida last night was able to win Kahn over North Florida. I think it was 13-7 the final score. Zabo, did not play, nor did Robbie Burnett. They were late scratches. They ate bad food on the way back from Gainesville. So not only is Florida losing baseball games, but now they are poisoning, not intentionally, my words, but now they are poisoning the opposition when they go down to Gainesville. So be careful for all those that are making trips to Gainesville. Neither played.
Oh, no.
Wes Johnson said they'll get on an IV. You know, if it was an SEC weekend series, they might have pushed through. But they're going to get an IV. They'll be ready for this weekend. So, yeah, interesting. Negatives just continue to compound around the Florida Gator program.
Dude, it really does. And negatives continue to compound for ranked teams in the midweek because midweeks matter, baby. Hashtag midweeks matter. Some of these other results are eye-popping. Missouri State, 14-13 over number 2 Arkansas in 10 innings. The first loss for the Hogs at home this year before they take on Vanderbilt this weekend in Nashville. Highest ranked win from Missouri State ever. Also, Nichols, an 8-5 win over 13th rated Southern Miss. Abilene Christian, 7-1 over number 17 Dem Boys from DBU Dallas Baptist. Cincinnati, 12-2 thumping of number 18 Louisville. And Wofford trumps 22nd rated Troy, 14-3. The midweeks continue to provide cinematic drama.
Yeah, we had a lot of that with Duke and ECU, which we talked about off the top. Also, Arkansas, that's a sour taste in your mouth before heading to Nashville. There's no doubt. The Hogs were off to their best 25-game start in school history. You know, DVH 2 weekends ago had recorded win number 900, leading that program. It's going to be an epic showdown in Nashville between Arkansas and Vanderbilt. But now the Hogs are going to be reeling off their first midweek loss in, I think, 19 opportunities. I believe it was 18 in a row that they had won in the midweek. And an incredible weekend for them where they just piled up more runs against South Carolina in a 3-game sweep. It was a really cool moment on Saturday with Arkansas basketball playing in the Sweet 16. By the way, or earning their way into the Sweet 16. By the way, my bracket, anecdotal thought there would be that it is trash. And the tournament has been trash up until Colorado State and Maryland and the buzzer beater on Sunday night. But I have not been a fan of the tournament to this point. Arkansas has given us the 2 best games, I think, in a lot of ways, beating Kansas and then beating St. John's. But Will McIntyre is, I think, either coming out of the bullpen or starting to warm up. I think he's throwing his warm-up tosses on the hill, and this is when Arkansas polished off St. John's in the final moments, and the standing ovation from everyone at Baum-Walker Stadium. He was asked in the postgame, he's like, have you ever had an ovation like that before? And he's like, no, because it could have been perceived like they were cheering for McIntyre in completing his warm-up tosses, but in reality, they were cheering for the basketball team. Did you see the play from Vahiva Aloy, the leaping catch at short, and then turning the double afterwards? This was absolutely scintillating. He has been responsible for so many otherworldly plays for the Hogs and really nationally this year. But he was able to turn two, catch the guy leaning at second. And then Aiden Jimenez, who was on the hill, missed all of last year with an injury, said after in the postgame, laughing that dinner is on him. Whatever he wants, he's getting. But Aloy continues to mash. The Aloy brothers, everything. Arkansas had been a wagon up until they ran into Missouri State. What was that final? 13-12, Con?
14-13 in 10 innings.
Yeah, so some wacky stuff there.
My bracket, by the way, my Final Four's intact, 7 of 8 Elite 8 intact, only 10 of 16 Sweet 16 though.
See, I don't know, man. I'm just afraid to look. I can pull this up. I created a little.
Pull it up, brother. I got my handwritten baby that we wrote last week. All right, I still got it.
I haven't been tracking it.
Right
I mean, I have it. I have it, but I
this.
haven't marked
Day 1,
anything.
Day 2, Sweet 16. I track my bracket on paper like God intended. All right? That's what you do.
Well,
you track your
sorry.
stuff on paper. Like when you're playing golf like you did yesterday, you track yourself on a little scorecard with a tiny little pencil.
By the way, you see these right here? These things are pumping out 300-yard drives on the reg, okay?
Love it.
These pythons right here. Now, I got to get the short game in order, but I had a birdie and I had 4 pars.
All right.
And I also 3-putted for par on a par 4. That's right. I 3-putted 4 par yesterday at Lexington Golf Club. I drove the green, man. It was right off the fringe. What you want me to do? I piped it 305, rolled up, and then took me 3 putts from there. I'm in on par. I mean, if I can do that every time, I can live with it. However, I did sink a couple gangster long putts too. So, it's up and down. You eliminate a couple of flubs will be good. I shot an 89 yesterday for my second time out this year. I'll take an 89. It was 96 last week. So, the golf game is starting to flow. If I can get under 85 when I get out next week or the week after, you just got to make it part of your routine, more as well as anyone. So,
yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. You want me to go to my dude of the week?
Yeah, go ahead. Give me your dudes.
All right, well, I got dude and a dudette, actually.
Okay.
So my dude is Eli Putnam of Davidson baseball because he had a whale of a weekend this weekend against VCU in A10 play. 5 homers, 14 RBIs, 12 for 15 for Mr. Putnam, Eli Putnam for Davidson. All right, so he gets dude of the week honors. He only had 2 homers prior to this weekend. He's averaging 371 after 5 dongs over the weekend. All right, so Eli Putnam has definitely got some pythons on him too. Also, we're going to go with a bonus dudette, Carlin Pickens from the Lady Vols softball team. She threw the fastest recorded pitch in NCAA softball history over the weekend, 78.2 miles per hour from a 43-foot mound in softball, which equates to 110.03 miles per hour in baseball. Since it's coming from a 43-foot mound, Tennessee now holds the record for the fastest pitch in college baseball, which, of course, Ben Joyce, the flamethrower, 105 miles per hour, 105.5 miles per hour 2 years ago. And then softball, Carlin Pickens, 78.2. My dude and my dudette of the week.
Those are both fantastic selections. My other dude I want to give credit to from Georgia Tech, Kyle Lodis, who is Alex's cousin. Okay, so the one we just played the highlight for from Florida State, his cousin is Kyle Lodis at Georgia Tech. 2 of the better shortstops in the country are cousins, one at FSU, one at Georgia Tech. Kyle against Notre Dame across the first 5 innings in an 18-7 series opening win in the sweep of the Irish in South Bend. He homered 3 times across the first 5 innings. Wow. Kyle Lodis, he's got a 371 batting average that leads the Ramblin' Rack, 9 home runs. Okay, he's got 9 dongs. His cousin Alex Lodis, though, 458 batting average, 10th nationally. He had the walk-off granny and hit for the cycle, right? Make sure I got that right.
They don't play this year, though. I just looked. Florida State and Georgia Tech don't play. What the hell?
Well, they might play in Durham. The ACC tournament, new format, box office stuff at the DBAC. Let's go. That Zaborowski, I did have a highlight, but I never loaded it in, so we're not going to play it. So Jeff Dantzler, we're working into the program at another point. That was with 1 out in the 9th when Zabo for Georgia, Charlie Condon 2.0 had hit that. Here's the other thing I wanted to note on him, just really quick. So he's got 14 homers, 48 RBIs, 458 batting average. For Georgia, 467 average, 14 bombs, 48 ribbies. So at Miami last year, just 10 home runs, 45 RBIs. So he's already exceeded all of last year's total at Miami, Ohio. And then the year before, he hit 20 dongs, okay? 20 home runs, 52 RBIs. He'll exceed that after this weekend. There's no doubt. So as long as he recovers from food poisoning. Robbie Burnett is also out sick. 383, 13 homers, 41 RBIs. Top 10 in the nation, 7 categories. UGA clobbered 4 home runs yesterday without either of those two winning 13-6 over North Florida. I gave my social, my hat tip to Arizona State and the crowd against Kansas. I also want to tip the cap to Pico Khan and Kyson Witherspoon and the show they put on in Norman for an SEC Friday night, the first SEC home game, correct? Yeah, for Oklahoma, because they were on the road at South Carolina opening weekend. These two aces dueled. Pico, 2 hits, 10 Ks, no runs in 6 innings for Mississippi State in a 2-1 win. It was an unearned run that they had allowed, so no earned runs allowed by the Mississippi State pitching staff. But then Kyson Witherspoon for Oklahoma, 11 strikeouts, 5 hits only, 1 earned run in 6 2/3. I mean, just painting the corners, just shoving each of these guys on a Friday night in Norman, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma. That was incredible stuff. And I'm sorry, I can't recall. Maybe you can correct me. It was Oklahoma who won that series, right? Or did I mess that up?
I don't recall, actually.
I think Mississippi. I think Mississippi State. They won game 1, 2-1.
I'm pretty sure Oklahoma won the series. Let me confirm real quick, but I'm pretty sure
it'd be much like Texas hosting OSU, where the road team took game 1.
Yes, Oklahoma won the series.
That's what I thought. Okay, just confirming there. Make sure.
Yes, they won 13-11 and 7-3 on Saturday and Sunday after falling 2-1 to Mississippi State on Friday.
Okay, what about Houston Christian in the start?
Yeah, so my hat tip to Houston Christian's first-year head coach Clay Vanderlaan. He took over for Lance Berkman last year. You remember, 18-31 was old Berkey in his last year at Houston Christian. They only won 9 games in Southland Conference play. Well, Houston Christian this year, 14-8 overall, 7-2 in Southland Conference play, as Houston Christian has won all 3 of their Southland series so far, McNeese, Incarnate Word, and then on the road, they got the UTRGV. The Valley went down.
Oh, man.
At home. Houston
got
Christian,
the Vaqueros.
2 of 3. They took care of the Vaqueros.
Man,
2 of 3 for HCU. All right, so got to give a hat tip to our boy, Clay Vanderlaan. All right?
Oh, the Vaqueros have been vanquished.
Yes.
They have been vanquished. Incredible.
Yes.
All right,
they're out.
My social display of affection. Let me just explain it real quick, and I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. My screen. I'm gonna share my screen with you. Oh, John Michael Morris just got me all warm and fuzzy inside. My pet. I got flashes of Tommy Boy right here. My sail.
Oh my God.
You killed my sail. Okay. Do you know who Kent Murphy is?
Yes.
The comedian?
Yes.
I was not aware of who Kent Murphy is, but he is the quote-unquote, and this is a life failure for me to not be aware of this guy's heroics in the content space and with baseball in general. Quote, best coach in the world, all dingers, no bunts. Like, this is how he is defined. All dingers, no bunts. So Arkansas, this is going back to the Hogs, sorry. Justin Thomas Jr. was showing bunt early in an at-bat, ended up homering in this at-bat. So Arkansas went ahead and did a mashup with Kent Murphy using his video, splicing in Justin Thomas. It's awesome. Let me do this. Share screen. You're going to hear the audio. It's tremendous. Bang. You see this now? Let me scroll up a little.
Yep.
Okay. Let me
full screen that bad boy. There we go.
I'm going to teach you kids how to bunt in the proper way to do it. We're going to go ahead and break this down from a fundamental standpoint. Chuck, if you wouldn't mind pitching me the ball going out there. Just throw it in here, Chucky. Don't hit me this time, man. I'm just doing it once. Danger! Oh, you did! I ain't bunting. I knew you wasn't going to do it. Kimmer, you thought I was going to do it, but I ain't. I'm Kent Murphy.
Oh, so good. It is so good. It is so good. So good on Arkansas for that. That is my
man.
I want to
Murphy's amazing.
I want to take cuts from Kent Murphy and like put in some imaging for the show, but I don't want to get sued. So
yeah, be tough.
Questions. Yeah.
Yeah, Kent Murphy's awesome. That's fantastic. I've seen quite a few of his videos actually, so that's fantastic. Well done by Arkansas to loop that into their social media. That's awesome. My social display of affection: the Pirates opening day starter in 2025. No surprise, Paul Skeens is the opening day guy for the Pirates. He found that out last week, and before he shipped back up from Florida to Pittsburgh to get ready for his opening day nod, he visited the Miami Hurricanes baseball team, took a nice photo with the team, and they posted on their social media. So you can go find that on the Miami Hurricanes baseball Twitter feed, which also has some delicious looking Mark Light shakes. And hat tip and SDA to Paul Skeens.
Good old Paul Skeens, man. Just living the dream. Just living the dream. Olivia Dunn, SI swimsuit model, I think year number 3 in a row. I saw that posted the other day. So congratulations to him. Brian Bush would appreciate that reference. Yes. Tennessee at South Carolina on the weekend. Arkansas visiting Vanderbilt. Georgia against Auburn. Clemson, Georgia Tech. Oklahoma, Alabama. Arizona, Baylor. UCLA, Purdue. Richmond, Fordham, UTSA, and FAU among the series that we are locked into this weekend. Anything else before we say goodbye, David?
No, I got nothing. This has been quite the anecdotal podcast, and I appreciate all those who listened to all 1 hour and 35 minutes of this.